Welcome, welcome. This is our very first Patreon community life coaching session together. So let me give you guys a little scoop on what to expect from these videos. So y'all, as a life coach, I have private clients and I have corporate clients. And my average session with them runs about an hour. And, there's a lot of research that goes into this, from listening to podcasts and reading books and articles and, just data that I find that I then put into a PowerPoint, and we have a session. So what I am doing now on this platform with Patreon and with y'all is I'm taking those sessions and I'm making them little mini sessions. So the content, the themes, all of this information that has been gathered from my clients, I'm now bringing to y'all. So this isn't just stuff I've pulled out of my behind, all right? This is actual feelings, thoughts, stories, things that are going on in real people's lives that I just had to say, okay, what do people need to hear about? What are people craving right now so that they can better understand themselves, how to get more joy? Where are they being tough and they want to kind of be softer on themselves? What are they curious about? How are they feeling? So just taking all of that and putting it into a session. So welcome, y'all are now a part of this. Grab, notebook, pen, paper, if you want to jot down some notes. I will be kind of looking away during these sessions, y'all, because I am going to be referencing my PowerPoint. So, but don't worry, I'm not going to not look you back in your eyes. But I want to just make sure I'm capturing, the key information. Write stuff down, y'all. I encourage you to follow up if there's a resource you hear, if there's a book that I share that you're like, I want to know more, check out the book. If there's a podcast that I drop, listen to it 5-10 minutes, especially if you're new to podcasting. It really could open up your world. So let's get started, y'all. The first topic is going to be, our first session is going to be on love languages. And there are 5 of them. So if you've never been exposed to the 5 love languages, just get ready, because by the end of this little mini session, I hope that you will walk away really knowing what your primary love language is. Not only knowing that, y'all, but how are you using that primary love language to love on others and to receive love? So I really am going to encourage you to think more not just romantically, but how is this love showing up in your friendships, in your engagements with colleagues at work, with your family? So it's really powerful when we know our love languages. So let's get started, y'all. All right. There's actually a book on this. Gary Chapman wrote this book from his own observations in his marriage, just people in life. And he really came up with, this is kind of the formula. Understanding these 5 love languages can help love last. All right. So let's break it on down, y'all. The 5 love languages. And I want you to think instantly, what is your primary? Because you're going to hear all 5 and you may be able to say, oh yeah, I love it. Those are all mine. Okay, that's cool. But you have a primary one. Okay, here are the 5. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Which one is your primary? And how do you know? Which one is your favorite way to receive love from people in your life, at work, in your friendships, from your romantic partners? And which one, and this is how you know it's your primary, how do you give love the same way? Okay? I know without a doubt my primary love language is words of affirmation, without a doubt. I come from a family, I really had to do some investigating on, where does this come from? Where did this start? And I come from a family where we prop each other up. We say, I love you every time we hang up off the phone. We pump each other up when good stuff is happening in our lives. And this is done through words. We are a word family. So that is how I have identified that that's my jam. Okay. So be thinking about what yours is, where it started, and how do you know for sure? I also want you to think about why they matter on a deeper level. Okay. When you understand your love language and the love languages of others in your life that are really important, you just understand them more. We don't take things as personal. So stuff that you might be sensitive about, it's like if you understand their love language and where they're coming from, you just have a greater clarity. and they feel really seen. And it's just a wonderful feeling. All right. So think about why this matters. Let's break this on down. Words of affirmation. Let's start with this one. These type of folks value verbal acknowledgement, okay? Including frequent I love yous, compliments, words of appreciation, verbal encouragement, and often frequent digital communication like texting and social media engagement. So when I think about how I kind of even interact with people as a coach, a lot of it is rooted in words of affirmation, in how I uplift, in what I choose to share on social media, in what I'm drawn to. It really, when you pause and really identify what yours is and think about how you move in the world, it makes total sense. All right. So that is words of affirmation. So think about you and people in your life that really love this type of love language, and how are you maybe showing up or not showing up for them. That's important to think about too. Quality time. Now, these folks feel most adored, y'all, when their partner actively wants to spend time with them. Like they just want to hang out with them. They want to be in their presence. They don't have to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. Sometimes they do. It's really just that quality time, and uninterrupted quality time, y'all. If that person is in front of you and they're distracted on their cell phone, that's not quality time, not for someone who really loves that way. So if you are a quality time person and you find yourself in the company of your romantic partner or a friend, and you're deeply bothered when they're on their phone and you're trying to engage with them, this might be something you want to think about, how you start to express and communicate that so that you can really be receiving love best for you. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Acts of service. These type of folks, they show their love. They go out of their way to show their love to make your life easier. So these are folks that are, maybe they're very solution oriented. Like they just want to get right down to the solution and do something that's going to bring a little bit more peace to you. So think about, these are the kind of people, they're less of the words and more of those actions. So it does make me think back to, because I'm a words of affirmation. So, men that I've dated in the past that I might have these long text messages and, talking about my day or asking about theirs or uplifting them through something that's going on in their life. And they might hit me with a little, okay, or that's great. And I'm just like, that's it. But they show up huge in acts of service. So acts of service people are less, they might be less on the words, y'all, but show up. That is their jam. That's how they show love to themselves, following through, and they show love to you. They're reliable. They want to be there. They do acts of service. They could be super small gestures because it's really about that thought, or they could be huge ones. Acts of service. Gift giving. This is another love language. So think about how you feel when you put intentional time in planning, purchasing, and giving a gift to someone. And if this lights you up, like you just love it, and then you even love when someone does the same in return, this is your primary love language. Like if you're that person that's just like always being thoughtful, or, giving a card, or just really that person. I love people like this. You guys, I admire you so much, and I'm trying to be more like you. This is something special. So these people, they give outstanding gifts. They think about the person. They think about what they enjoy, what's going to make them feel happy. They're very intentional, and they love it when someone does it in return. My mother is awesome at gift giving. So is my sister Noelle. It's their sweet spot. Physical touch. This is my secondary love language. So you have your primary, and I've actually read that there's a secondary as well. Most people just kind of focus on the primary one, but take the secondary too if you're like me. I love physical touch. So physical touch are signs of affection, including kissing, holding hands, cuddling on the couch, intimacy, sex. So it's how when someone is in your space and you can feel comfortable like with physical touch, that is how you give and receive love. And when this is your love language and you're in the company of someone, be it a romantic partner, really just anyone, and you try to give that physical touch, and it's kind of it's not received very well, that can be a bit uncomfortable for somebody who this is their love language. But it's uncomfortable for you, but it's also pausing to say, okay, maybe that's not that person's love language, and how do I tweak this? Now, I've thought a lot about this personally. For me, this is my secondary love language, and I've thought back to specifically in the areas of romance, and back, pre-COVID with networking. I thought about how was I in these networking spaces? If I'm physical touch, how was that exchange and that interaction when I would be in the company of someone who I got the energy that wasn't how they show love? And obviously these weren't people I was, in a networking, it's connection. So love looked different. Love can be just giving someone eye contact, listening, asking questions in that moment, just kind of maybe touching their arm. So I know for me, because this is my secondary love language, I have to be very mindful of how I show up in the world with that love language. So again, the understanding and the empowerment of knowing yours and knowing not everyone else is the same can cause you to just be more mindful as a human and show love by loving people in their language. It's really incredible. So I want to just pause there, and I want you to think about which one is yours. All right? Which love language most resonates with you and why? Where did it begin? Where can you trace this back? So let me read them one more time. Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, physical touch. Which is your primary? Where did it start? What are these connections in your life? Some other things to think about. How does your primary love language mostly show up in your romantic life? If you were not even exposed and you didn't even know what this was, now that you know, what's clicking for you? What's making sense? Because romantically speaking, when you understand this, it can actually help you make really awesome decisions with your romantic partners. It can help you spot things that you're like, ooh, that's not my jam. My love language is this. Is this person open enough to express in that way? I'll give you a perfect example, because it can, when you really understand your love language, and let's say you link up and partner up with someone who has a different love language. They don't love you in your primary love language. Once you can communicate that to them and share with them how you give and receive love, and they tweak, that is a testament that this is someone that really loves you enough to make those changes. And this could be the same in friendships and at work. Communicating your style, what you need. Now, if you communicate it, and let's keep it on romance, and you see that that person is not willing to make that adjustment, or they're just kind of sticking to their way of loving and not willing to honor and love you in your love language, that gives you reason to pause and think about if that's something you're okay with. I was dating somebody who I was very clear that my love language was words of affirmation and physical touch. And I started to notice that when the physical touch wasn't received, it helped me understand and start asking some questions to understand a little bit more about him and maybe why. So once I got the understanding and the clarity I needed, and noticed that even after all of that, I still wasn't being loved in a way that I knew I needed, I had a decision to make. And that is why knowing your love language and really honoring it and communicating it is so important, because then you can just kind of sit back and see who honors it. And do they deserve to be in your space or not? So ask yourself some questions. What's your primary? Where did it begin? Why? How do you feel about this? And start to do a little bit of, maybe a bit more research on this. And I want to actually share a resource with you. This book attached. It talks a little bit about the love languages in there, because anybody who really in psychology that is in the field of wellness around love and the heart, pretty much does reference the 5 love languages. But in this book, y'all, this is about the new science of adult attachment. And I have another session, I'll probably do another video on this, that it breaks down how we attach romantically to adults, like when we're adults. So are you secure? Are you anxious? Or are you avoidant? So when you have a combination of understanding these love languages and a book resource, and I'm going to break this down in a further video, you can really start to dive in a little bit more understanding. Again, it has to start with you so that you can then understand other people and know how you need to be giving and receiving. I hope that this was, a little bit enlightening for you to think about your primary love language and how this is showing up every day in your life. And maybe when, like, something I've been particularly thinking about is, where have been times when maybe I wasn't the best friend to someone because I wasn't loving them in their love language? And how did that show up? Or I've been reflecting on, who are people in my life that just naturally love me in my love language? Like they just do it. And how does that make me feel? So really start thinking about where it's just naturally flowing, because it is. You're naturally getting your love from someone who's loving you in your love language, and then where it's not, and where you can make some choices around that. I hope this was helpful, y'all. And love is just, it's the most powerful, a one-syllable word that to me is the most powerful word in the world. So explore how you love, how you give it, how you receive it, so that you can just continue to make sure you always have a lot of it. Thank you all for watching. I can't wait for our next session. Have a great day.